Howdy folks, today's lore video is on the TIE Phantom. The TIE Phantom, also referred to as a Phantom V-38, was a prototype TIE series starfighter developed by the Galactic Empire during the Galactic Civil War. A modified V-38 assault fighter, the Phantom was a result of a development project led by Grand Admiral Martio Batch and was equipped with both deflector shields and a hyperdrive, along with a technology not seen since Darth Maul's scimitar, a Stygian cloaking device. The Phantom was designed and developed in response to the Rebel victory at the Battle of Yavin, and there were some initial troubles at the start, but Batch was able to secure a supply of the Stygian crystals that were required for the cloaking device, and they entered production on Imdar Alpha. When the testing process was completed, not long after the Battle of Hoth, Darth Vader intended to use this new starfighter in a devastating assault on the Rebels. However, after a few encounters, the Rebels learned of the new threat and dispatched pilots Rookie 1 and Rue Marlene to capture one of the fighters for study. And for those of you who might recognize those names, you should, especially if you played the game Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, which is where they are from, and also the only place you actually get to see the TIE Phantoms in action. The Rebels did manage to successfully infiltrate the Super Star Destroyer Terror as it prepared to launch the fighters against the Alliance, and escaped with one of them, which they used to destroy, from the inside, both the Terror and the facility where the fighters were produced. But the stolen TIE Phantom's self-destruct mechanism was activated before the Rebels could examine the fighter, and the technology was lost. After this, the fighters were kept in limited supply and given only to the most capable of Imperial fighter pilots. As I said earlier, the Phantom was a modified version of the failed V-38 assault fighter, and was a member of the TIE series, which dominated the Empire's starfighter fleet during the Galactic Civil War. And it was also very distinctive among the series in that its solar array wings were attached directly to the fuselage, perpendicular to the hull, rather than to pylons extending from it. Like the TIE Defender, the wings were equally spaced around the hull, with one located directly above the cockpit and two below on either side. Now, whereas most TIE starfighters at the time had a spherical cockpit section, the TIE Phantom's cockpit was elongated and somewhat reminiscent of some of the Corellian freighters like the YT-1300 light freighters, like the Falcon. And the section behind the cockpit was roughly triangular with the wings mounted to the tips. This whole section was heavily armoured and contained the ship's twin ion engines, power generators and stealth systems. The starships carrying TIE Phantoms had to be fitted with specialised maintenance, launch and recovery systems because, with no landing gear, the fighters had to be supported when aboard ship to keep the lower wings off the surface. A launch mechanism would grip the fighter by the upper wing and maneuver it into position when departing. To get into the cockpit, there was an elevator hatch on the bottom of the fuselage, and the fighter was designed for a crew of two, one pilot and one co-pilot/gunner. Their positions in the cockpit were staggered, with the gunner sitting forward and to the right while the pilot took the rear left console. Both had a computer display along with the controls required to operate the ship, and amazingly, unlike the other TIEs, the Phantom featured life support systems, allowing the crew to operate it without the bulky helmet and breathing equipment required by most TIE pilots. But they did wear a headset with a microphone to assist communication in flight. The Phantom was armed with two laser cannons mounted to the body under the cockpit, with three more laser cannons mounted on the tips of its three wings, and all five could be fired simultaneously to maximize the effectiveness of each shot. The vessel was also designed to be tougher than the standard TIE fighter, and so it was given deflector shields for defense, and another unusual feature it was given was a Class 1 hyperdrive, which allowed the Phantoms to have a lot more freedom. But all that isn't what draws people's attention to the Phantom. It was its Sienna Fleet Systems Mark III Stygian cloaking device that it had equipped. The cloaking device utilized Stygium crystals and a high energy reactor to give the fighters the ability to appear effectively invisible to the naked eye, while at the same time evading sensors and scanners aboard other vessels, which was practically unheard of for ships their size in recent decades. Now, when it was cloaked, other vessels could, at best, detect only an unusual sensor anomaly and were unable to get a firm reading, while the faint shimmering distortion that was the only visible indication of the fighter's presence was easily missed against the dark backdrop of space. In fact, even other TIE Phantoms were unable to penetrate the cloaking shield. However, due to the high power requirements, the fighter's speed was significantly reduced and the hyperdrive sensors, communication systems and weapons were deactivated while the cloak was on. The fighters had a built-in mechanism, however, that allowed the pilot to fire the lasers at any time, with the cloaking device being automatically shut off and turned back on after every volley. And this effectively allowed them to remain unseen until the moment of firing, thus getting the jump on their enemy and to be virtually invisible the vast majority of the time, even during a dogfight. Now, with all this technology built in, the TIE Phantom was considered a potential threat to the Empire should it ever fall into enemy hands. To help prevent this scenario, the designers fitted each fighter with a self-destruct mechanism that could be activated remotely, so that should one ever be captured, nobody will be able to replicate its technology, and that is what stopped the rebels from being able to study the one that they had captured. Due to the complexity of its systems as well and the high production cost, Phantoms were only ever produced in limited numbers. Now, the invisibility combined with a hyperspace ability allowed Phantoms to travel to hostile systems to scout enemy positions ahead of an Imperial invasion. And the fighter's independence was boosted by the fact that not only did it have a life support system that allowed the crew to operate independently for days before needing to return, but it was also by their ability to carry consumables to feed the crew for up to 2 weeks. And that is the advanced and very deadly TIE Phantom, one of my favourite Imperial fighters ever made, along with the TIE Defender and TIE Avenger. So, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you all in the next one. Until then, may the Force be with you.